What if I told you that your biggest investment is not the house, not the cars, not even your own children?
What?
In this video, we're going to explore why we often ignore the most important investment of all, ourselves. We'll also discuss the 5 common traps that prevent us from investing in ourselves. These traps are so deeply ingrained in our culture that you might not even realize that you've fallen into them. And I hope by the end of the video, you gain a whole new perspective of what it truly means to invest in yourself. So grab a cup of tea, find a comfy spot, and let's unpack this together. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Francis. I'm a clinical therapist and a plant medicine integration coach. And this channel is really about empowering you to transcend fear so you can find a profound sense of belonging and purpose on a unique path to fulfillment. And to overcome those fears, it's important to understand where the resistance is coming from. You know, things haven't changed much since my early days when I started working as an employee over 20 years ago. I would leave super early in the morning, eat breakfast and lunch in my car Monday through Friday, and occasionally work a weekend job. You know, there was never intentional rest, just me tuning out after I got my son together. Looking back now, I'm actually pretty amazed at how many years I did this. You know, now though, things might be a little different because of cell phones, but the underlying theme of constant busyness and lack of intentional rest still remains. And you know what I'm talking about. You wake up, immediately check your phone, you rush through breakfast. That's if you even have time for it. And then you dive first into a day packed with meetings, deadlines, and endless notifications. Sound familiar? I invested 7 years of my life in my education, and that's a significant investment, both financially and in terms of time. You know, there were moments when I couldn't be there for my son, and even after graduation, I continued to just push myself to the limit, neglecting my own well-being. Honestly, I've come to realize that neither I or you are to blame for this. We've all been conditioned to believe that this is the norm, but it's really up to us to change that narrative, because what's really making us sick is chronic stress. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever asked yourself why, though? Why have we been told to invest in everything else, but not into our own lives? Our world, specifically America, is designed to keep us busy and distracted. How many times have you missed out on really important moments in your life because of work? And I'm not saying work is bad, right? But it's important to recognize that our current system often puts our well-being last. And many of my clients, they feel guilty about prioritizing themselves, believing that self-care is selfish or that they're not good people if they do so. And I can make a whole video about that idea alone, but this is a common misconception, and it's so far from the truth. As a former people pleaser, I learned that not taking care of myself actually allowed me to avoid confronting my own fears and insecurities. Helping others was a way to sort of stroke a wounded ego. Honestly, it's pretty difficult to take care of yourself when you're mentally and emotionally drained, because you see, after a long day of work and external commitments, the mind may be too fatigued to engage in introspective or mindful activities, you know, because when we feel overwhelmed and distracted, we don't invest, we tune out. So it makes sense when you look at it from this perspective. So give yourself a bit of grace and compassion as you sort of navigate this part of your life. When my partner and I visited Spain, we were there for over a month, and we noticed a unique culture. Certain tables inside of the cafes had designated no laptop zones, and people seemed less inclined to discuss work after a particular time. I remember us coming in, having our laptops ready to work, and we couldn't. We had to either just chill out there or find a different cafe to work at. So I started digging a little bit deeper about, okay, well, how does the rest of the world view rest, relaxation, and work? Denmark is known for its employee-friendly policies. Only 1% of workers put in more than 50 hours per week. In America, 50%, you hear this? 50% of workers work more than 40 hours per week, and 39% of workers work more than 50 hours per week. That is wild. But many Danes actually prioritize a traditional 8 to 4 workday, leaving evenings for family time. In fact, the hours between 4 and 7 are often considered sacred for family activities. And even if you don't have a family, this free time can be used for personal pursuits like going to the gym, socializing with friends, or just simply relaxing. Another country, France, also has an interesting approach to work-life balance. In August, the whole country virtually shuts down for a month-long vacation and just relax and have a good time. I took a 6-year break from the traditional American work culture, and when I returned in 2019, I was surprised by how much everyone seemed focused on work. Even during lunch, I remember thinking, can we just talk about something else? Like, why are we talking about work while at work during our lunchtime? And it's funny because I used to be that person, right? Because it's an opportunity to vent with your coworkers, to let off a little bit of steam. But taking a step back for that long of amount of time made me realize that work really isn't everything. So as you can see, this way of life is deeply ingrained in our culture. And so if you want a joyful, less stressful life, you'll need to make a conscious effort to break free from the patterns. You have to do your best to work against what is considered the norm. So let's just take a moment and imagine you just bought the most stunning sports car that you've ever seen. It's sleek, it's powerful, it's built for speed, but instead of premium fuel, you start filling it up with the cheapest gas that you can find, the kind that barely gets a lawnmower moving. And so it struggles to perform even at a fraction of its potential. So if you invest in something like a high performance vehicle, but you don't pay attention to it, what do you think happens to it over time? That's exactly what we do to ourselves sometimes, right? We're capable of incredible things. We're complex beings. We have all of these gifts, these talents that are stored within ourselves, in our bodies, in our minds, and in our hearts, but we often hold ourselves back. Negative self-talk, unhealthy habits, and distractions can keep us from reaching our full potential. Even when we see warning signs, right? We see the red flags. Our body's very smart. It will tell us when something is off track. Even with all those warning signs, we still will delay taking action. And we long for these sort of extraordinary lives. But deep down, we may be subconsciously sabotaging ourselves. Does that sound familiar? And I've learned through many years of self-improvement that it requires a significant investment emotionally, financially, physically, mentally. It's a holistic process. Many people have misconceptions about what it generally takes to change their lives. But if you're watching this, you're likely not one of them. And over time, as I've sort of gone into my own healing journey, I realized there are two key ingredients that are needed to really change your life, and that's attention and investment. You cannot have one without the other, and I'll show you this in a minute. But first, there are 5 common traps that are preventing you from investing in yourself, that are preventing you from a radically different life. Let's explore these traps so that you can identify them in your own life and start breaking free. All right, so trap number 1, economic pressure. Okay, we all know we live in a money-driven society. Our society often emphasizes the importance of financial stability and material possessions as not only markers of success, but like living that good life when money's just running high and you feel very much financially stable. This can lead to focusing more on accumulating wealth and assets and just a whole bunch of stuff, sometimes at the expense of personal well-being. When I quit my job in 2013, I lost a significant amount of my income when I began working for myself. Then when I lived overseas, I taught English. I was earning a decent salary in Japan. While the financial security felt nice, I was unhappy living there. No offense to Japan, it was an absolutely beautiful country with hospitable people and amazing food, but I decided to take a pay cut and move back to Thailand. I'm not suggesting that everyone take a pay cut, right? Instead, find a financial situation that allows you to feel comfortable enough, not too comfortable, because we're trying to get out of our comfort zone, but comfortable enough to focus on your well-being. Just remember, nothing is completely secure and anything can happen at any given moment. So don't let that stop you from exploring your options, and don't take too long to do so. All right, trap number 2, cultural norms. We kind of talked about this earlier when we looked at the different countries and how they view work and rest. But many cultures prioritize external validation and achievements over internal growth and happiness. And so this can influence our beliefs about what is valuable and what is worth investing in and what is not. It's almost like, Barbara down the road, she got herself a really big house, nice big house. She must be so happy. Meanwhile, Barbara isn't as happy as it may seem on the outside, but she likes receiving the validation of having this nice big house. And that sort of keeps her in the trap of working more and resting less. And trap number 3, fear of the unknown, which is a biggie for a lot of folks. Investing in ourselves can be pretty scary because it involves trusting ourselves, trusting others often, stepping outside of our comfort zones, like I mentioned earlier, and facing uncertainties. So we may fear failure, rejection, or the unknown consequences of personal growth. So common thoughts that might pop up are like, what if this doesn't work? What if I don't really change? Or can I actually keep this going? What if I lose momentum? So this can be very daunting for a lot of people. And it may be just easier to just focus on tangible external goals versus changing our internal state and our internal environment. Trap number 4, short-term focus. You already know our society often emphasizes immediate gratification and quick results. Investing in personal growth, on the other hand, can require long-term commitment and lots of patience. Remember, I mentioned earlier, even just investing in my education, that took 7 years. That was a lot of time commitment and a lot of money that was put out there. And so for many of us, if we don't see those changes immediately, we give up way too soon. I like to use fitness as a easy example because it's something people can relate to and can actually see. And when we go to the gym, we don't work out for like this week, right? Our bodies are going to be transformed a year from now. And our hearts, the internal system, can feel the benefits of that workout in a couple of weeks, but maybe our physical body, we might not notice the difference until a year from now. If you're committed to working out and changing your body, you have to have the long game, right? You have to understand that this is a journey and a process. It's not something that we can sort of skip ahead and fast forward. And so as a result, we might not be as consistent because we just don't see the results that we want to immediately. And then the last trap number 5, a lack of understanding. Many people don't fully understand the value and impact of personal growth just because they've never experienced it before. If you've sort of been the same way for the last 30, 40 years, and now you're being invited to change something about yourself, you don't have a point of reference. You might not realize that investing in yourself can lead to greater fulfillment just because you just haven't experienced it. You might not believe that investing in yourself could lead to better relationships just because you haven't experienced it. And so it's hard for you to connect to the idea that this process is going to lead to a meaningful life. That's when I talked about being able to trust yourself and trust the process and trust the journey and commit to the process long enough to see those incremental changes over time. So those are the traps a lot of us can fall into as we begin the journey of investing ourselves, changing our lives, doing the things that we need to do to make our lives better. I'll share a quick story with you about investment and attention. Over the last 4 years, I would say I faced numerous health challenges, including 2 surgeries, one that left me hormonally imbalanced and the other physically limited. And if you've been following my story, in 2021, the doctors removed a fibroid the size of a baseball. And that really throws your hormones entirely off track. And I remember being very moody, my sleeping was off, my eating was off. And during that time frame, that whole ordeal with this fibroid situation, I gained a lot of weight. I gained about 30 pounds. Then earlier this year, I had shoulder surgery from an old unattended injury that limited my mobility. Again, don't take too long. I had warning signs, but I delayed to take action. I delayed for so long that I actually had to get surgery. I had a massive lump on my shoulder that had to be removed. And so between the fibroids and the shoulder surgery, I started to feel old remnants of sadness returning because who I was physically, the identity had changed in ways that I never had imagined. And I was really hard on myself about this. And there was a moment when I played the victim card and blamed the injuries. And I felt like I just couldn't return to my rhythm, my old self, right? And I mean, the whole point of growth is not to return to your old self, but the victim label is really a trap. I mean, I didn't mention it in the other traps, but it really can get in the way of us progressing. Just remember that when we begin to play the victim, we will remain trapped. True power lies in the choices we make every day, and those small choices eventually shape our reality. And these seemingly insignificant micro decisions determine our energy levels, our mood, and our overall desired lifestyles. And we think that sometimes these micro decisions, they're so small that they don't have an impact because, again, the immediate gratification, we're always looking for the home run. And that's not where it comes from. It comes from those little tiny decisions that we make throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, and so forth. So overall, the last several years for me has been a journey of just shedding and outgrowing. And I poured a lot of energy into my spiritual growth. And I realized it was time to expand my focus, my body, your body. is like a garden that needs tending. If we want to blossom and thrive truly, we have to tend to that internal environment. Realizing my limitations and areas of improvement, I knew I needed a major reset. I needed something that would require my full attention and committed investment to address my weaknesses and push myself beyond my comfort zone. So I decided to join a weight loss boot camp in Thailand. I'm someone who typically likes to go in. Some people take baby steps, find what pace works for you. But this was no ordinary fitness retreat. It was intense. It challenged me physically, helped me to refocus on not just physical wellness, but mental wellness. And I found myself doing things that I didn't think I could, all because of whatever excuses I choose to listen to in my head about my injuries. And I ended up working out harder than ever, even compared to my first weight loss attempt back in 2011. Completing the first grueling week was a real wake-up call, one that I very much needed. And I forgot what it was like to be genuinely energetic without the uncomfortable bloatedness in my belly, and how a change of scenery could powerfully just reset my nervous system. I really forgot that feeling because it's been so long since I was disconnected from it. Perhaps an immersive retreat isn't feasible for you, but there are countless ways that you can invest yourself daily, weekly, monthly, because the reality is you're probably running on empty and neglecting yourself. And I tend to say that rest is not a reward that you earn after working hard. Rest is a requirement. It's like mandatory, that it is a part of your life. If you're running on empty, you might have low energy, foggy thinking, and a weakened immune system, especially if you find yourself getting sick often. And maybe that's become your daily existence, right? And you're sort of stuck in that cycle. It's no wonder we experience burnout or disconnection from our own lives. This is precisely why we must cultivate, again, an internal environment that fosters thriving, not just surviving. Let's see how you can put attention and investment to work. Remember, you can't have one without the other. And here's what I mean. Maybe you've invested financially into something, but haven't given it your full attention. Perhaps there's something that has your attention, but you haven't invested enough time, energy, whatever it is, to be consistent so it doesn't stick and you find yourself failing to embody that thing. One of the biggest things I feel like would be helpful for a lot of us is just working with our nervous system, getting it out of the fight, flight, freeze kind of zone that we tend to find ourselves trapped in. So committing to some sort of mindfulness practice will help reset your nervous system. And it doesn't have to be meditating, y'all. You don't have to sit there for 20 minutes if that something is very difficult for you or causes a lot of anxiety. But just find ways to move slower and with more intention, I should say. Take a class maybe, or dedicate a weekend to self-care and just play, have fun. We're often way too serious. Life is not meant to be this serious. But whatever it may be, the key thing is putting yourself in an environment that fosters potent self-discoveries and maybe a 360 reset away from the distractions and routines that keep you on autopilot. And again, whatever it is, it has to be a regular focus to disrupt negative patterns. This is really about fully giving the attention and investment needed to make change actually last in your life. And when you do that, it starts to sink in slowly but surely. It becomes a reminder that change is not only possible, but within your reach when you fully commit. Things may not be different for you because maybe, just maybe, the effort is a bit half-hearted. That is something I can definitely relate to. So are you truly ready to invest in yourself? Here is your call to action. What is one thing that you can invest in so you can shift your attention and move the needle in your life? Again, remember, seemingly small decisions can create a ripple effect. That's what it does over time. So no matter how small you think a shift might be, think of the process of a mustard seed and have faith. Because by prioritizing your own needs and investing in yourself, you're not just making a choice, you're taking control of your life and paving the way for a more vibrant life. And that vibrant life will positively impact everything and everyone around you. So I'm not calling y'all, I'm just calling you forward with love, of course. If you want to go deeper, download my 125 self-reflection questions that will change your life for free. Share in the comments below the one area in your life where you could invest a little more attention and see a big difference. Remember to subscribe for more content like this. And if you found value in the video, please share it, like it. But yeah, share it with somebody that you think will benefit from the message. And thank you for watching, and I will see you on the other side of change.